Hey, welcome back to World Entertainment, and this will be the review, non-spoiler, and a little bit spoiler, but I'll give fair warning when that's going to happen, of Zack Snyder's and Netflix's Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. What's this movie about? If you could tell me, that would be a big help, because I'm not 100% sure. It's kind of all over the place in story. The basic story is that there's a somewhat evil empire that just shows up to a planet that has farmers on it. They land at a village with like about 50 people in it and basically want all the grain, and then make the deal of, okay, we're gonna take everything but we'll let you live if providing you give us all of it. And they're like, yep, okay. And they ask, how long will that take for you to grow the grain and stuff? And they went, 9 weeks. And they went, right, we'll come back in 10 and you better have our crap. So they leave. They leave a couple of rapey army men, and they are rapey because they try and rape a girl. Sofia Boutella's character takes them all out. Well, she almost takes them all out. One of their own soldiers is kind of fighting back against them at this stage. He somewhat helps, and then the robot helps. There's a robot, it's a King's robot or something, who's voiced by Anthony Hopkins. That thing helps, and she decides they're gonna have to fight back and basically form a rebellion, and it just kind of yanders on from there with flashbacks of who she is when she's telling the story, and you get a full-on Star Wars rip-off of the cantina scene. Literally, like, they go in, there's aliens. You get, remember in A New Hope when Luke and Obi-Wan walk into the cantina and all these different aliens turn around and look? Exact same thing here. There's even an alien that kind of gets in their face. It's weird. Visuals are a mixed bag, really, because every time you see something in space, it looks great. The majority of it on the ground and stuff is great. It gets to a certain point in the movie where it starts to really look bad. There's one planet in particular that they go to that when they come down, it looks really bad. You're like, oh, how did what happened at this point? Very strange. The characters, you really learn nothing about them. It's kind of, we need you, okay, next person, we need you, okay, we need you, okay. And it just kind of goes on like that. You don't really get much information, nor do you really get any real reason why they would help. Is it a good movie? Is it a bad movie? Is it as bad as people are saying? Is it as good as some people are saying? I'm pretty much right down the middle. I don't think it's terrible, but it's definitely not good either. They've got a real problem with Zack Snyder. He definitely needs someone, number one, to write for him. He's got good ideas for stories, but by Jesus, he needs someone else to write them. And he needs somebody to step in and tell him, you gotta pull back on this type of crap. And what I mean by that, if you're into your slow motion, well, by Jesus, this is the movie for you, because every single action scene is slow motion. Every single one of them. Anytime someone runs in the movie, every single time someone runs in the movie, it goes to slow motion. When the ship first arrives in orbit above them, they're throwing down seeds because they're farmers. They're just planting seeds. For some reason, he decided to show you seeds being dropped out of a hand onto the ground in slow motion. There is one particular shot. It would have been a great shot had he not kept doing slow motion of Sofia Boutella's character during one of her flashbacks, where she's on a planet and it's just like full-on war breaking out, and she starts firing and runs from one, like beside a ship or something, does this jump over like a bit of rubble, jumps behind a wall, and you get these long shots from it and stuff. That one scene goes in like one shot, slows down. It goes to slow motion 4 times in the one scene. You're like she turns, it goes to slow motion. So she raises her gun and fires. It's all in slow motion. Then it just goes back to normal speed as she runs, and as she jumps, it stops and goes to slow motion again. When she's halfway through her jump, it speeds to normal. She jumps behind the wall, and right as she gets to the wall, it goes to slow motion. And then when she turns around and starts firing, it goes to the next shot of all the other lasers being fired across, and that stops the slow motion. You're like, Jesus Christ, will you stop going to slow motion every single action scene? And that's where the next problem comes in, where they need to say to Zack Snyder, will you stop doing this aesthetic? If J.J. Abrams' big aesthetic thing is the lens flares, which just pisses everyone off, Zack Snyder's is the blurry lens. Yes, for all the money that's been put into this movie, for all the effects that are supposed to be in this movie, good luck if you can see any of it. Because unless you are the main person in focus, you are seeing nothing. Everything else is blurry. And I literally mean everything else. There's even moments where people are standing next to each other, and the person on your left or your right, of like 2 people standing, one of them will be half blurry, but everything in the background is blurry. And that's in practically every single shot in this movie. It's like, did he just rub Vaseline all over the lens and just leave the very center of the lens clear so you could at least see something? And that takes away from a lot of the action as well, because not just now are you seeing all the action in slow motion, but then you're seeing everything else around it blurry. You're like, what's the point? What is the point in doing that? It's quite annoying when that happens, which is all the time. But the slow motion. As for the only character we kind of learn about is Sofia Boutella, that when she was a girl, she's on the run, or she was on the run. She was found by one of these farmers who's pretty much taken her in. He found her next to a ship, apparently. We don't see any of this. We're just told this. But when she's speaking to other people, you learn who she was. So when she was a little girl, this empire, whatever they're called, showed up, start wiping out her planet. One of the main guys, he's the regent king now, spared her. She was going to shoot him. He cocked the gun for her to pull the trigger. She did. It either wasn't loaded or just didn't go off. Yes, they're lasers, but they still take ammo. So I don't know, figure that one out. Like actual clips and stuff of ammo. And for some reason he spared her. She doesn't know why. And basically took her as his own daughter. Raised her in the army of this empire. So she's the best of the best with them. And he basically wants her back, apparently. Why? Don't know. Don't particularly care, and it doesn't exactly tell you why. The villain, your main villain, the kind of, I suppose he's meant to be like the Darth Vader of the movie, is weird and just kind of there. They're literal space Nazis. Like, literally space Nazis. Even the uniforms. The only thing missing on the uniforms is the SS. You're like, well, kind of on the nose here. There's some fantastically stupid moments in the movie, like when they're out farming and they look up and see the ship, and like there's this gigantic ship, and Sofia Boutella's character goes running into the village to ring the bell, and it's like, what are you ringing the bell for? Like, everyone can see the thing. It's like right there. It's hard to miss. To start with, it's the only thing in the sky. That's so weird and so stupid. Charlie Hunnam, his character is basically the Han Solo of the movie. He's in the bar when they go, and he's a pilot, and he's just like, and a smuggler basically, and he's like, yeah, I'll take you. And you're like, oh, that was easy, you know. The only thing missing with him was something like a Chewbacca. He's no sidekick, kind of. The droid is barely around for whatever reason. Maybe they couldn't afford Anthony Hopkins, even though he's only the voice of it. It's there at the beginning and one shot of it at the very end doing nothing. just kind of standing in a field, which is really weird. With that, I'll just touch into a bit of spoilers. Before I do, would I recommend it? If you're a Snyder fan, you might enjoy it. If you're not, you're absolutely gonna hate the thing. If you're someone who just doesn't care whether it's Snyder or not, and you're interested in seeing, have a look. You might enjoy it, you might not, or you might be like me, you're just gonna go, it's me, you know. It is very annoying as well that it's a part 1, because it means you're not getting a complete story, and you really don't. I've seen people say you do, you really don't. You could have, but they just added a little bit more, and it's like, now you've taken away and made it an incomplete movie. So with that, I'll touch on just a few spoilers. So you're being warned. Here we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First up, Charlie Hunnam. I hope I'm saying his second name right. His Han Solo type of character actually screws them over. He's like, they get all their group together, which is like 7 people, and one of the guys that they get is part of a rebellion who the reason they didn't have grain to give to this Empire place is because the farmer dude who goes with Sofia Boutella on this mission was selling the extra grain they had to this rebellion. These guys are the rebellion, and when they're like, we need you to help and come fight with us, they're like, the sister's like, no, it's a brother and sister, the leaders of it, and they're like, she's like, no, like, we couldn't take that on and stuff. You're like, what kind of rebellion are you? You're meant to be rebelling against this, and here you go, here's the option to fight it, and you're like, no. It was weird. But they get all of them, and this guy, the rebellion guy, a few of their soldiers come with him, and they bring their own little fighter ships. Charlie Hunnam screws them over. They go to a planet, they land, the cargo he's bringing out, and Sofia Boutella is looking at him. Her name in it is Cora. At least that's the name she uses, is Cora. She's kind of looking at him and speaking with one of these guys who are bounty hunters, and she's like, something's not right. And sure enough, all the ships start getting taken out. The Empire, for the lack of, I can't remember what it's called, it's basically the Empire, their ship comes around, not the ship that's in the sky, this other weird thing comes around the rocks, shooting all the things. The cases they were carrying out open up, and they're like battle droids almost, the way they unfold, but they're these graspy chair things that hold you, and there's a drill thing that they put into the back and fire it and kills you. It separates your neck, which I'm sure will be gruesome in the R-rated version to come out. And Charlie Hunnam gets the farmer guy, he wants him to just kill Sofia Boutella's, and he doesn't, but he sticks it to him and kills him. So Charlie Hunnam is only going to be in this episode part, because he dies like a bitch as well. And for some reason he's got a Northern Irish accent. That's the other thing, when we come to the farmers, when we first meet them, they're speaking like Vikings. Like, think of Ragnar in the show Vikings. They're trying to do that accent. Corey Stalls is the leader in that group. He's called the Father or something. He's got a very kind of Viking accent until a little bit after, because then it's almost starts sounding Irish. You know, where he's like, oh Jesus. It starts sounding like that, the typical American take on the Irish accent. So Charlie Hunnam dies with his weird Northern Irish accent, and our main villain dude seemingly dies. He gets the shit knocked out of him by Sofia Boutella. He knocks the shit out of her. She stabs him, knocks his teeth out, and knocks him off this floating buoy type thing. And once she looks over and you can see a bit of water, you're like, I bet you Anthony's in the water. And sure enough, they all... Oh, by the way, the soldier dude, the rebellion fella, yeah, he's already dead as well. He sacrificed himself to take out a gunner on this big ship, which for some reason when he dies he hits a control and the entire ship crashes, and you're like, why did that happen when that control should only work the gunner's side? Because there's 2 gunners on each side. Like, okay, makes no sense, but whatever. They go home, so now there's only 6 of them. They go back to the village And they're like, hey, look at the village, isn't it great? And one of the dudes is like, it's a shame we killed the emperor dude because... And that's what the villain's meant to be. He's meant to be an emperor. They're like, oh, because now we won't have to fight, which is a shame because this would have been a beautiful, beautiful place to die. And they're like, yeah, it would have been. And that's where you think the movie's going to end. They go riding into the sunset towards the village. And this is where you get that last shot of the robot with antlers on his head for some reason. But no, it doesn't end there because, of course, we go back to the planet. And yes, sure enough, the Emperor dude is still alive. Not just is he still alive, but for some reason, he has all of his teeth. And the reason that's weird is because she hits him with this stick thing that he's beating people to death with. And we see like 6 or 7 teeth go sliding across the platform, and yet he has all of his teeth when they find him. It's like, okay. And they plug him into some sort of interface thing, and he meets the Regent King, who is like, yeah, you better go get my daughter and whatnot, or else we'll kill you. For some reason, the Regent fella has an Northern Irish accent as well. And then they send him back. He comes into this weird watery bubble thing, falls down, and they're like, is he back? And they're like, we're not sure, there's no heartbeat or brain function. They hit him with everything we got, and they just electrocute him, and he wakes up. And that's where the movie ends. And you're just like, what the hell was that? So it's a truly weird movie. It's, as I said, it's not good. It's not terrible. The slow motion is incredibly annoying, and so is the blurriness. Everything is blurry and it's just annoying. Characters, if you could figure any of them out and understand who they are, it could be interesting, but you're not. And by the looks of the second one, you're still not going to learn anything. The next one just looks like it's a big fight. Weird, whatever. Let's say once the movie ends, the trailer for the second one immediately pops up and starts playing, which I think is meant to be coming out in April. It's either April or March. I heard March, but I think the thing says April. So yeah, it's one of them films. It really is. It's just kind of, I can see why Netflix thought they had a big hit in their hand and why they were kind of really promoting it and even brought the release forward and stuff. But yeah, I don't see many people enjoying this thing, to be honest with you. You'd have to be a proper hardcore Zack Snyder fan to love this thing, and I don't really think there's many of them. You know, all the people who wanted the Snyder cut, that's not we're massive Snyder fans. That's we want Snyder's DC, not we want his other stuff. So I don't know what people are going to make of this thing. I don't think it's absolutely horrendous, but it's definitely not good either. It's a huge disappointment, to be honest, because the trailers looked interesting, and it's a shame. But there you go, that's the review for Rebel Moon Part 1 anyway. So with that, The Reacher episode 4 review will probably come out on Wednesday, because of course it's Christmas basically. So with that, happy Christmas to all of you. Have a good new year and all that good stuff. Thanks for the support on the channel. Thanks for hitting subscribe and like, and even just watching the videos. It helps a lot, means a lot. And with that, I will leave it there for this one. So cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.